Good morning. Well, good mid-morning. Today is the first day of spring 2023 here in San Diego Zone 10B, just a couple miles from the coast. And yeah, it's raining. Well, it was raining last night. There's a little break today. Monday, Tuesday, we get the big storm comes in, and we're going to get more rain than we got last week, which on my gauge was just over 1.5 inches. So it's been an unusually wet winter, and that's a good thing. So I wanted to do a quick tour, take advantage of the spring equinox and something that I need to be doing on these important celestial dates. So let's get into it. And I did a quick short on this Santa Rosa plum of whether it's confused, schizophrenic, half dead, whatever you want to say. But look at these blooms. Just incredible blooms this year. Over here as well. But, as you can see, and I'll get around there in a second, only half the tree is blooming. Well, you would think there's something wrong with it. And if you really didn't understand what these trees need and some of the conditions that can happen in certain areas of the yard, you would think the same. But this is a perfectly healthy tree. It's actually doing really well right now. It's at least 15 years old. Really good kind of a canopy on there. Half the tree is in full bloom. And the reason why? That's the roof line. This is a 2-story house, just about. The sun rises over here. In the wintertime, this is completely shaded, but only about half the tree. So that means that half the tree got more chill hours than the sunny side. And the Santa Rosas like a little more chill than some of the other stone fruits. This tree produces very heavily, but does have its off years. And this year looks to be an on year. I mean, that is just insane. That is just way too many flowers. And I like it. So we can come around here on my rainwater collection. Before we get to that, you can see that side in there is just starting to bud out, which seems to be about 2 or 3 weeks later than this half of the tree. And so, quick tour. Just put these over here in the past day or two. This is my ultra dwarf rootstock kefir pear, and I have a couple cow peas. I think there are cow peas in here. This is rootstock bought a couple years ago. I got it at, there you can go, you can see, Lowe's, big box. These I got late in the season, got them for like $10 a piece. So, look at my finger. And so you can do that sometimes. That's a little trick. Go late, they sell them for half price, and then they get cheaper and cheaper until they pretty much give them away or throw them away. And it's starting to sprinkle a little bit. I might have to get an umbrella. We'll see how far we can get. So this thing, I have a pretty good little espalier going, kind of freeform, bit of a canopy, good branching. This center branch I'm probably going to take out right here. But just starting to peek through. And I just transferred this into a larger pot, and all new soil as well. So we'll see if it kind of gets hit a little bit. We got a nice leaf right there. See what happens. But this thing has produced. It produced last year. I just wasn't around to eat the fruit. Pretty nice size as well. This is a lamb hoss. Hey, that's what happens when you tug on a leaf. Lamb hoss. See, these leaves are starting to shed out anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Just put into a nice number 15 pot with really good soil mix. And lamb hoss. This will be kind of taken care of here in the next couple weeks. I put this screen on here just to keep the harsh sun off in the afternoons, and it should be good to go in a couple months here. I expect some really good growth out of this. This is a night blooming jasmine. Originally was here when I got the property 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago. So this thing could be a 40-year-old night blooming jasmine. This is one of my favorite plants in the garden. In summertime, when it blooms out, the fragrance is just undescribable. And every once in a while I get super blooms on here. It'll be 6-8 feet tall, completely covered in flowers, and blooms at night, fills the whole house when the doors are open with the scent, and it is just amazing. So, little guy here as well. Echaniums. These are my mulch machines. My, I would say the Mediterranean pioneer species. Really, really good for that, as well as the artichokes. This here is a, what are these things? Anyway, this is old as well. This thing could be 30 to 50 years, who knows. I know the owners before were here in the 70s. I'm sure they may have even planted this. Beautiful flowers. I love the smell. The lilacs. Right next to our Washington navel. And this thing is in the super bloom phase of its life. Last year, not too many fruit. The year before, about 300, seemed like. Did a lot of maintenance on it this year. And as you can see, it's just insanely blooming. There is not a spot on the tree that is not blooming. And amazing flavor. They do not taste the same in the stores. Go get your own Washington navel. This one as well is like 15 years old. You can see the trunk in there. I'd say 15 to 20. Doing really well. And here is a new planted avocado. And this would be the Surprise, which that's not the tag. There it is. Surprise. Just put it in the ground. And same thing, just got this a few days ago from the same grower or same store as the lamb hoss. And I keep it shaded when it's really hot and sunny. And got some new growth coming in. Looks really nice. So this is in a kind of a small space. I would say a 4x4. I'm going to keep this probably a 6x6 and try to get it to start coming out and over. Right next to all the artichokes. These have been in the ground for 3 or 4 years. I usually let them flower because I love the flowers, and so do the bees. But there's the rest of that Santa Rosa. So you'd think that would be dead. No. It's just gets less chill hours. And I did put a graft in here. So this is a spicy nectar plum. We'll see if it takes. But look at these flowers. Oh, they're beautiful. So coming back around here, these are the fuchsias. This variety is beautiful. It doesn't smell as nice as the yellows. The yellows are amazing, but this really puts out some nice blooms. Moricanium. This is my very well-established, mature rosemary, and this is bee crack, as in honeybee crack. So we're just coming off the flowering. It probably peaked a week ago, but the bees just destroy this thing. It's one of the first flowers of the late winter, early spring, and they work this thing from sunrise to sunset. As well, this is probably at least 20 years old. And this is into the upper terraces Did a lot of work the past few days. This was sold to me as a gem avocado. I've had it abused in the shade for a couple years. It's putting out new flowers and buds all over. But it's a Pinkerton. How do I know? Look at that. That's a Pinkerton. But this is a flowering. My surprise bee on the other side of that Washington. There's the Ecaniums. They're starting to bloom out. They'll bloom for about 2 months. Just amazing flowers for pollinators. Everything loves this thing. Get these in your yard right now. Back to the Pinkerton. The Surprise, Lambhaus, Pinkerton, all these together will do well because the Surprise is a bee pollinator, I believe. And then the Lamb and the Pinkerton are A's. So that'll help out. But as you can see, this thing, I had painted it up. It's kind of a weird growth. This is one of the mains, drooped over. Kind of bare down here. On this side, low growth. So we're going to work with this and see what it does, but it's very well established. It will produce. Up in here is the, what is this? The sea foam, something to that effect. I'll put it right here. Amazing flowers. The bees work it a little bit. Super drought tolerant. This thing will not die no matter what. The more water you give it, the more it blooms. And this has been around for years and years and years. Got them all over the place. They self-seed, but beautiful flowers, really nice color. And they dry out really nice too, so they're good for cut flowers for a little while. These are all the new ones coming up. The Ecanium here, this one's pretty old. These do well. They'll stay alive for years and years. They almost turn into trees. You just gotta kind of keep them under control. But all those spikes will just flower out and become huge lighthouses of pollinator dreams. And so for right now, this creates a lot of mulch. I have a crepe myrtle here that most likely I'm going to pull out and put something different. It's been struggling. You can see I've been cutting it away because this thing just wants to keep creeping in. But these act as really good screens, and pollinators need 0 water in our climate. This is the original gate that was put in 20 years ago. And I had planted at the same time, I planted a Thompson seedless grape. So this thing, 20 years old, I was weaving it all over. I just recently found out that the whole base down here is starting to get rotten. And it's not doing so well. So there's still some tip growth out here. You can see them coming out. But I'm not sure how much more life this thing has. There's some others over here you can see. They do produce. Last year produced quite a bit, but the raccoons love it. The Japanese beetles love it. And but it looks cool. Even if it dies, I'll leave it in here for a while unless the termites really start getting into it. And on this side, this is a jasmine. I believe it's the Chilean jasmine. And you can see the base here, so that's pretty old as well, 15 plus years. I like to keep some low down here because these smell amazing. Here's an old spent flower and a new one coming up, but the majority of it is way up here, so that's just a mess. Never really gotten up there. Maybe a couple times I've trimmed down, but it's a pain in the ass to get up there. I just leave it. Puts a lot of shade down here in the hot summers. Just standing under here when it's blooming, sitting down, having a coffee, having a beer. It's pretty awesome. And not sure what these are. I'll have to figure that one out. just will grow in a crack somewhere. Need zero water as well. These are some irises, smell just beautiful. Super light scent, but wow, you cannot get a better flavor than this in your nose, that's for sure. Here we have the oregano, and as well, these things will do pretty well with limited water. They just kind of stay low and compact. With all this rain we're having, these are going to really do well. I have some down below too, but they put in a nice show of flowers, and the bees love them as well. And the flowers will come off these tips and extend out 1.5 feet or so. The other ones are down here. You can see sometimes the flowers are just covered in here, which is pretty cool. And these are agapanthus, and forget, these are another type of lily. I'll have to give you that name of those. Over here we're doing a rehab on a Tahitian plumelo. Was neglected under the shade, had a lot of pests on there, so it's starting to come back. Right in there you can see it's starting to do its thing. So, and then I do have some more container night blooming jasmines, and this is the newer area, so we're doing some construction work, as you can see. I can pull this off for a second. This is a cherimoya. I'm just protecting it from all the rain with all the new grafts. So there we look. We have some, this is a booth, this is a rootstock. We got Fortuna, Pierce, and Cherylata grafted on. So hopefully we'll see in a couple months if this takes. And that's gonna be nice. So if you come up in here, this is the jasmine, and this is the very well established, although funkily shaped. This is a desert gold peach, and this thing produces. I have to thin it out or bring it up with stake it up, because it will break branches. That's why it's a little weirdly shaped. It's been breaking branches, doing its thing, but right now it's got a really nice canopy. I do have some of the peach leaf curl. I didn't get the chance to treat it this year, but it's not too bad. You can see here, that one's pretty bad. But it really doesn't do much for production unless you let it get out of control. I need to come through and thin all this fruit. You can see it up in there. They produce early. This is the first thing that blooms besides the Anna apple. And delicious. They're ready in May. So as you can see, it's just every single branch is loaded. I need to come through and thin this out. I like to keep my artichokes as a chop and drop, and also as a moisture meter. These things start to wilt, you know that soil's dry. There's some baby blackberry in there as well. But interesting thing is, with all this rain, I had a tomato in here, just kind of in a pot. It's kind of stayed alive for a year or so. Fruited a little bit, never picked it. All the fruit fell. With all this rain, this looks like weeds. All those little green things, tomatoes. So don't pick up your fruit, and hopefully if it rains extraordinarily, everything will germinate. And I'm gonna have to pick these out because they'll get out of control, but there's probably 100 or so seedlings in here. More canium. And then this is my privacy fence off the street. That is the Texas privet, at least 15 years old as well. Beautiful show. This is going to be a super bloom this year as well, and the bees can't get enough of this. Good smell too, but kind of short. It's a late spring, early summer bloomer. There's the acaniums about to flower out. So that's just starting to bud. This is a little bit more mature of a bud. And if they mature earlier, they get a little light and airy. But as they come in late, these are the ones that are super dense. These are the ones you want to see. This is the royal apricot, I believe. And this is the first time it's bloomed like this since I planted it. So it's been here for 5 years or more. Oh, that new growth. It's been under this huge tree that I've been recently bringing down and trimming and keeping trimmed. But before that, it was just an impassable canopy for the sun. This thing was sitting under that canopy and never really got any sun. So it's kind of awkwardly deformed, kind of heading out that way. That's southwest. So it was trying to get from under the shade as much as possible. And now it's not going to have that problem. So it's just going nuts. I recently amended this, was pulling back the soil. The little white feeder roots are everywhere. This tree is going to explode over the next few years. And here's some more of that fuchsia. Privet. More of these lily guys. These are really nice. This is beautiful too. Orchid. Some bird of paradise. And that is a Benjamin ficus in a pot. I've had that thing for 20 years, 25 years. But I need to pull it out. It's come through. I need to pull it up, kind of clean it up, and then just reset it somewhere, and then put it on some bricks or something where the roots won't pass. You don't want this thing getting rooted. It'll turn into a jungle tree in about 100 years and take over everything. So come through here, there's another night blooming jasmine. These are the ones that smell the best. You can smell these things for 20 feet around. This whole front area smells when these are blooming. I have a few of them. A new entrance, a lot of construction right now. So we're gonna put some cool things here, finish all this out, finish all that out. But let's look around the side in the backyard. So neighbor, privacy fence. This is Cape honeysuckle. You can see a lot of new growth on here. This right here is the pink jasmine, which is a wonderful smell. And that's coming up on here. Let's look for some flowers. Here's some on the neighbor side. And there's the pink jasmine about to bloom out. So these Cape honeysuckles are really good for pollinators. Makes a really good privacy screen, grows fast. Drought tolerant, but they kind of look sad if you don't water them at least a couple times a month. So along this, and I did have some bamboo. I put some black bamboo, which wasn't the best thing to do. And they've kind of been taken over by this Cape honeysuckle, which I prefer. This was I think a queen bamboo. Not a good plant for me. I don't like to take care of things. I'm a lazy guy sometimes, and this doesn't get water, and the ants start farming scale, mealybugs. It just loses all its leaves every summer. It's messy. So I'm in the process of taking it out. It's going to be a process to make sure all the roots and rhizomes are out. So yeah, that'll be fun. And then around here, look at that. That is a 30 to 50-year-old Texas privet. They call these the landscaper's friends. I'm not sure, something like that. Anyways, the roots are not invasive. This is right up against the tree, or right against the tree. The tree is right up against the house, the shrub. I keep a nice little, a 1.5 foot gap here. But you can take a look at these. Look at the size of that trunk in there. And yeah, these things turn into small trees when you let them go. Really good, drought tolerant. More water you give them, they'll stay nice and flush like this. You can see all that new waxy growth on there. And this thing is going to super bloom this year as well. So let's go down low. So a bit of the cactus garden area here. Aloes. These little succulents are kind of cool. I just planted, that's a yellow monkey flower. Got some more little succulents in here. That is a big San Pedro cactus. It flowered this year, which was cool. And I have a bunch of little guys in there propagating. That's artichoke flower. They make really cool dried flowers as well. I just love artichoke flowers. I really don't even eat the artichokes. I love the flowers. And this is a cholla cactus. This is not its preferred environment, but it does well and it puts out new growth. This was a little guy when I first got it. Maybe this size, 6 inches tall, and it's been a couple years. So, and the soil is from the desert soil, so it's well adapted in this little pot. Stays warm, dry. I don't water it at all, just the rainwater. And more privacy stuff. That's the old hame, giant timber bamboo. And these things need a lot of water. Oof. But fortunately, if you need mulch, these are mulch machines. Look at all this leaf litter. But unless you get a lot of water, they don't look that great. And they also get a lot of scale, aphids, things like that. The ants love to bring them up here. So as you can see, all that scale, and it'll take out the new shoots if they get bad. So I recommend these for privacy if you want to put a lot of water down. So get back to the fun stuff. This is the Barras Tahitian lime. Just got transplanted. It was in probably like a 5-gallon, and doing okay, but as you can see, it's in a pretty large tub here. I put a lot of extra holes for aeration, a lot of holes for drainage, good soil mix, and this was blooming out really well. I just transplanted it yesterday. The fruit on here is excellent. I recommend a Barras lime for sure. This thing's old. It's got to be 15 years old at least, but it's been in a small container, so it's almost bonsai. So this will produce quite a bit and have a cool shape. This is my first volunteer avocado from compost. It's got to be 3, 4, 5 years old maybe. I'm keeping this as a rootstock. I might graft some stuff up in here, but I'm gonna keep some of these branches and see what happens, because this thing is as hardy as it gets under my conditions of neglect. It had been in a 5-gallon container, and just sometimes not watered at all. It would drop leaves, look sad, never died. And when I just transplanted it yesterday, I pulled the root ball out, just white and yellow, beautiful root ball. So I know that this is super hardy. I mean, look at the size of this trunk for probably 3 to 5 year old seedling. I had topped it at one point and then topped it again. But so this is my main leader going up. And you know, I don't expect any fruit on this new stuff. There's no budwood coming out. This is all leaf growth. But I am willing to let it go and see what happens, because leaves are beautiful. They seem to do well with the sun, although this gets afternoon shade. Yeah, I'm excited to see what this does. Really vigorous grower. My little compost pile. Bird of paradise. And this is the original Primark Freedom Blackberry. I planted in an old tub in there. This is a mammoth producer of fruit. And in my climate, it seems to produce year-round. There's always some sort of flower and berry on here, although the really main production is in the late spring, early summer. It does do some fall stuff too, but as you can see over here, I mean, we're in mid-March, but in January I was eating fruit. So they tend to produce year-round here. I'm in zone 10B, coastal Mediterranean. But yeah, this thing just will not stop budding out and flowering. I mean, I even let it come over here, and you can see the fruit set is huge. I can get 15-gram fruit on this thing. This is a Carolina raspberry. This has been in here for quite a few years in a wine barrel, and it does really well. So it gets midday afternoon sun and really good berries. I had another kind. This one did the best, so I kept it. Take them down to the ground every year, and they come back. All of these, they like to go up straight and then fall over. So this just kind of keeps them in check. And the fruit comes out on the tips on the first year of growth. Although some of these I left, you can see the kind of little sticks in here. They're a little bit older. All the stuff will flower out really nice. More Primarks. I like to propagate these. Here's another. This is ready to eat for this time of year. Comes right off. This is going to be a little acidic. It's kind of cool. They like to warm in the sun to get sweet. But with all this rain coming, this would have a tendency to kind of get deformed and mushy. So let's try it right now. Yeah, not very sweet. Acidic, but juicy and still good. Blueberries. I need to change out my soil mix. This stuff is too compost heavy, and the roots are not doing well, so I'm going to switch them out. But these are really delicious. These are South Moon. I had a couple of varieties. I think one or two of them died because of the soil, and we're going to slowly change those over. But blueberries do well here. Lots of strawberries. Another volunteer compost avocado seed. This one seems to be doing well as well. Some really good growth coming out here. And I'll probably take this out somewhere and graft on if I can find a good budwood. There's a couple of varieties I'd like to get. Some volunteer celery. And just some more of the same blackberry. You can see it starting to flower out. This is collard greens. I like to let this flower because the bees love it. And then up into here, plumeria. I got a couple different kinds. This is my celestial fig. This is from a cutting of my original one I got, and I just grafted on some yellow long necks. I've got some up here as well. So this thing's kind of tall and skinny, so that if the grafts don't take, I can always take it out here and just let it kind of chandelier out. More blueberries. Not doing so great because of the soil, but we'll take care of that. And this is an experiment here. This is not how you grow apples for production, but it looks cool. This is a Fuji. And you can see there's a lot of budwood on there. And it will flower, and it definitely flowers, and it fruits. The fruit's delicious if the animals don't get it first. There's some more budwood. But for production, this is not how you grow it. But this is just for fun. Here's the original Celestial fig that I bought a few years ago. This fruit is delicious. Stays compact, purple fruit, really good. I like it. And this one just got up potted, so I've been giving it a nice kind of candlestick shape. Looks really good in the summer. Big leaves. The fruit's great if you can hide them. If not, the birds get them right as they're ripe. So you look at a fruit and say, tomorrow I'm picking it. You go back tomorrow, it's gone, or it's halfway eaten. So yeah, keep that in mind. And this is the Oro Blanco. It got hit really hard by the citrus or the leaf miner last year, and basically dropped all its leaves. I pulled them off. It's coming back, and it's going to be great because it's been amended. I've painted the trunk, that's why it looks kind of grayish, just to protect it. This is an awesome citrus to have in your yard. Tastes amazing. And this is my table from doing all the transplanting yesterday. We're getting a lot of rain tomorrow, and this is from last night. But this is the back area and the main area here. My permaculture project has been going on for 20 plus years, and this is what it looks like in San Diego with a lot of rain, and don't even know where to start. All this green in here is cilantro. So I've been generally picking out all the invasive weeds, and as long as you get them before they seed, after a few years there are just not too many around. And what you do is you let all the good stuff come in. Cilantro is one of the best beneficial attractors for flowers you can get, and it will seed out very quickly as soon as it warms up, and you get great cilantro leaves in the meantime when it's cool like this. This is broad bean, which I use as a nitrogen fixer. Fava bean, and it's also delicious to eat raw, and then you let them dry when the seeds are big. I mean, they produce 6-8 inch seed pods, and the seeds are really, really nice. So what happened, I had to basically Johnny broad seed plant all these throughout the yard because I had a bucket full of them, maybe a 3-gallon bucket half full of seeds, and it got wet. So they all started to germinate, had to put them in the ground. These were put in most likely in November, these taller ones. You can see there's a big patch over here. I mean, the flowers are beautiful. They have a little slight scent. The pollinators don't get at them too much, but these are just beautiful flowers. So these were planted in November before the rains came, and came up with our rains. And then I have all these new ones that are coming up. They're everywhere, so they're like little Easter eggs. They're going to be popping up everywhere. There's probably 500 of them planted throughout the garden, and yeah, they'll, without much water, they'll kind of dry out, but they look nice, and they're nitrogen fixers. Great for compost as well. You can see all the cilantro. That's all just volunteer. I haven't planted anything really as far as these annuals for years. I just let them seed out and they do their thing. See up in here, This is the, it's going to be the tomato area I'm prepping. So I got my poles in here, and I have the variety of chocolate sprinkles, which is an amazing producer, really good tomato, kind of a cherry size but larger, big clusters like grapes. And I do not like fresh tomatoes at all, and these ones I can eat, and I actually like them because you can pick them early. They're acidic, almost like a lime. You let them go late and they are sugary sweet. So the redder they are, the sweeter they get. But you pick them when they're kind of like pale red with some green stripes, and they're tart. Really good. Morocanium. Just really good pollinator. Here's one that's flowering, actually. You can see the color is beautiful. And once the pollinators, hummingbirds, bees, butterflies, moths, once this thing goes into full bloom, you do not see one flower on a huge plant like this. This is 9 feet tall. There's not one flower that doesn't have 100 bees on it. So get this in your yard if you live in this climate, and your pollinators will love you for it. As you can see, it's just all over the place. I have some, white mulberry cuttings, passion fruit. Here's another volunteer avocado seed. This one I had pulled out. This is a really nice size, kind of a mature artichoke, but it still needs some time in the half shade. It's not fully rooted yet and recovered. Morocanium. This is a Pride of Madeira, is a common name. This in here is that same old lilac that I had pulled out from next to the original one. So this one's 50 years old possibly, and it's been in this pot underneath my what are these, the elephant ear something or others, and it's been in here barely getting watered. I do have some irrigation now, I've just been in the recent year, but it won't die. But the more water you give it, the more production, and this thing will put on a really nice show. There's a lot of bud wood on here. That's really nice. This thing is put in a trash can. When I first got the property 25 years ago, it wasn't in the right spot, so I put it in a trash can, not knowing what I was going to do with it. It's been in here for 20 years. And yeah, it's kind of cool. So what I do is, because of these leaves put a lot of shade down, it creates its own little microclimate. So I'm using this to shade and to keep the humidity up for my grafts. So this is a recent graft for, peach. So we got a Babcock White, Double Delight. This is a Spicy Nectarplum and a Gold-Kissed Apricot. Over here are some of the blueberries that I'm rehabbing. This is a Madagascar, I believe, or a scratch that. I believe it's a Arabian jasmine is what it is. So I got this on sale at Home Depot because it was pretty much dead, just like this, yellowing. I bought it, and I bought 2 of them, and they never really recovered, but they did put out some flowers, and man, these smell good. Oof. So just recently I did a complete change of soil techniques, and I'm going to try to rehabilitate this in a different soil. Maybe these things need more acidic conditions, like the blueberry. This is one I just got. This is the Emerald. It's supposed to have really large fruit. So this is what the blueberry should look like. And you need the right soil conditions. Blueberries, strawberries do well too. These are June bearers. I have a everbearing and a June bearing. I think Seascape is the everbearing. The June might be the Oregon, or I'm not even sure the name, but it doesn't matter. I have a June and an everbearing. You just need to keep these out of the compost, because the any bugs will get in there and they'll start taking them out. So hang them over is the best thing to do. Get the crowns up high, hang them over. You can see them in here. This one's getting eaten. Usually the roly-polies get them, or the earwigs. But it's early in the season still. Once it warms up, these things are going to explode. As you can see, all the little broad beans coming in. Some nice flowers. And as you can see, the cilantro started up here somewhere, and it's been generally seeding itself. And it even came over the hillside. So it looks like weeds, that's all cilantro. So this is going to seed out pretty soon, flower out. As soon as it gets warm and dries out, they're going to flower out very quickly. And will really bring in the pollinators and beneficials. So that's why I keep them. And hummingbirds like my yard. There's one right there. So this is a castor bean tree that died, but I keep it like that because the birds love to perch up there. Hummingbirds, all the little finches, just about everything. And he's just kind of buzzing around. I think he's mad that the flowers haven't bloomed yet for him. These guys are very social and very territorial. But in the mornings in the early summer, you can come out here when you water, and if you have the hose going, they'll come right up to you and basically bother you until you start spraying them. They're really cool. So back to a little tour. I'm going to most likely put pitaya in here because it's nice and sunny, and we got this fence for it to hang over. But I've just been using it as a place to store my random plants, and this is a privet I'm going to put against the wall for privacy. I got to dig it out. Started in the 1 gallon, went through this one, and it's in here. This is the golden, what is it, the butterfly bush, mugwort. I don't know. It's silky gold is what it is. These are really drought tolerant. This is all self-seeded from one that I put in a couple years ago. This is the one that attracts the monarch butterflies. They are always here. Every year I get the big caterpillars. They will find it if you plant it, so plant it. This is my collard green experiment. As you can see, these are large and old. Could be 5 years old, possibly. They don't die here in our climate, and very drought tolerant, actually. This is just sitting in the native soil, kind of it gets really compact and hard in the summertime, but these things keep producing. This year we had a really bad aphid infestation. You can see them in there still. I've been trying to get at them, but they're really tough to get rid of this year. But this thing just is my green machine. I don't buy salads anymore. Just come pick a few leaves of this every day and you're good to go. Here's more of the mature broad bean. You can see how they've been flowering out. I like these. I plant them everywhere. Even the birds are happy. Volunteer tomato plants, same chocolate sprinkles. Some garlic as well. And bottle brush. So this one's old. I would say 30, 40 years old. Great pollinator. Everything loves it. And it pretty much flowers all throughout the summer. As you can see, I've been having issues with water collecting and drainage, so I've been making my own little canals leading out, which is helping out, but it's a short-term fix to a long-term problem. But it seems to be working for now. But this here is broccoli growing under the deck. Doesn't get much direct sun at all, a little bit in the morning maybe, but it seems to be doing well, and the aphids don't like it, or they haven't found it, I'm not sure. But this came up as a seed from one I planted a few years back. I let everything go to seed and then just shake them out in the summertime and see what happens. But this thing is really nice looking. It doesn't get much water. Right now it's doing really well because the ground is saturated. But you can see there's a few of them here, and they seem to be unaffected by the aphids. So that's something to think about. So right underneath the deck, this side faces, that's south right there. That's east. So we get a good sun exposure to about 2 in the afternoon right here. And I'm going to use these to put my more tomatoes, have them come up and go up onto the deck. I did last year, a year before, did really well. Tomatoes will stay alive for a couple years here, really produce. So as these nitrogen fixers in here will help out. And even right there, you can see a little tomato. I'll probably just leave that one in there and let it grow out. But, wow, look at this. That is what you call a massive fruit set of strawberries. Man, these are great tasting too. Some of them get this big. It's amazing. So this is my Anna apple. It's a Simidorf. And this was in a 1 gallon, sitting in right here for years and years and years. Was getting decent amount of water, not too much, but never really had an issue. I did fruit every year as well, but if the rats didn't get them or other animals, they taste great. Great, great, great apple. I decided that it wasn't just good sitting in a random spot in a 1 gallon, pulled it out. It had a decent sized taproot going in, I had to cut it. Now it's in a pretty large container here. And I'm starting to kind of branch it out, espalier it, as you can see. So we got 2 going this way. It's a little uneven, but we do have them coming back. This one here is mostly all budwood, but it should start growing out as well. I have a little attempted graft here of a Fuji. We'll see what happens. For apples in this particular zone and climate, microclimate here in San Diego, this is a really good one. I believe it's one of the best apples for our Mediterranean climate in general, but this one in particular, I got it as a bare root, same thing from a big box store, and real small. Got it half, not even half price. I think it was like $12. They're usually like 40. It was already kind of leafing out, and it was probably 2 months after it should have been sold. And it's already a pretty nice size. But this thing just is non-stop flowers. It kind of starts in, it really doesn't even stop. I kind of almost get year-round, but it'll come in late winter, December, January. It kind of wakes up. My little leaf here. And it produces a lot of flowers. Look at that. So these are just coming in. These are flowering. And these have fruit. So a lot of different stages of fruiting. And because we've had such cold weather this year, there's a big cluster. You can start knocking these out here pretty soon. Just leave yourself with 1 or 2. But look at the stem length. So what I found out from someone a little bit more knowledgeable than I am is that they tend to do this when you get a lot of chill hours. These do not require chill hours at all, but as they get colder, the stems seem to elongate. I mean, look at the size of these things. They're 1.5 inches, 2 inches. And last year, if I can find any around here, they're all long. Look at these guys. I mean, those are super long. Last year, they were basically just stuck to the budwood. I mean, you couldn't have cut them off if you needed to. You had to twist them out. And these things are really extended out. So that's kind of cool. So maybe we'll get better fruit set. Who knows? But that's interesting. This is not the best spot for it because it only gets half day sun all morning to about 2 or so. But it seems to be doing well. This side doesn't get any sun. You can see it's completely bare. All my leaves are on and are going out towards the southeast. But it does well. So you don't have to be, technically, you don't have to put them all in the best spot and worry about who gets how much sun. As long as it gets enough, it'll fruit out. So it's quite happy here. I'm going to leave it here. And there's some more of the broad beans. These were planted in as seed in November. And then that's some smaller guys. They're just planted maybe a month ago, or a little less. And over here is a little raised planter box that I put in. There's kind of an unknown, it was sold to me as a Natchez blackberry, but it's not. It's kind of like a weird blackberry raspberry cross. The fruit is reddish color, but it comes off like a raspberry. So it's interesting. I have no idea what it is. This is another Primark Freedom, and this guy goes up to the deck. So that's cool. And he also is bushed out here, flowering, of course. This is where I had that seeded avocado. You can see a container there. So it was getting a lot of good sun in the morning and then shade in the afternoon. So it did really well. So over here, coming to the north side, this is my beginnings of water mitigation. Rainwater runoff has been an issue here. And with all this rain, it's actually a good thing, more than just the typical greening everything up. It's showing me where the water wants to go. So we got this main, this will drain out if there's no rain in about a day. We got another hole, and another hole, slow it down, collect, and then it drops off the hillside. So I put some of the broad beans in here, and look, they're coming up. This is pretty much 50% sand, 40% silt, and 10% clay. It gets hard as a rock in the summertime. And this will help break it up, and there's so much moisture in there. I expect these to stay nice and green for quite some time. And so yeah, this is a mess because we've been digging out. But over here, so that's pretty much north. This whole side stays shaded in the winter. There's more of the Acanium, Pride of Madeira. This is a hugelkultur mound that I put in probably 6-8 years ago maybe. And I just constantly kind of just throw stuff up there, whatever I want to, and it's getting taller. But I just planted this. This is a butterfly sage, and this is a fragrant pitcher plant, which it's flowering right now a little bit. The pollinators are not as interested in this, but this is so fragrant. The leaves, oh man, it's just amazing. It tends to get a little wild. I've never trimmed it back. It's broken a lot. But you can see this year there's a lot of growth coming out. So I'm probably going to, just for now, stake it up a little bit, give it a better show. Oh, hear that? It just broke. So I'll leave it there. I'm going to start cutting this back and let it kind of get a better shape. But really beautiful plant. Doesn't get much water at all. Really just the rain. Every once in a while from around, I'll throw some water on it, but it's pretty drought tolerant, well established. And as you can see on the side of this hugel mound, here's some more of that collard greens. This one's flowering out over there. These have been in the ground for a couple years as well. They get almost zero water in the summertime. So these are really hardy and really good green to have around. They definitely get tough when we don't have much water, but in the spring and winter they're really doing well. This is one of my kind of chop and drop species here, and Pioneer. This is a castor bean tree, shrub. This thing is awesome for chop and drop. It's really soft. You can cut this, it could be this big around. You can cut it with little 1-inch hand pruners. And let me get over here. Very drought tolerant. It'll grow on the hillside with no added moisture. And you can see it's been topped in here. This stuff, it grows really fast. And actually really cool looking too. There's some cilantro down there. But I use this as my chop and drop. And once, it'll live 5 years, 8 years maybe, and then kind of just get too big and fall. But you can pull these out. The roots are really soft. They're not invasive. Really good to have around. This thing is very well established. See, there's another one. Look at that. The water's collecting in there. You see how it grows. You can cut it off almost at the base and it'll pop back up. So here's some more of the broad beans just everywhere. And this is a larger one. So you can see it's pretty close to the house. But these roots are not very invasive. This has only been in here for maybe 2 years. Look at the size of that. And I've been trimming this guy up, so it's kind of cool looking. Put some nice shade over here too. We got a huge tree here. Way too close. Still digging on that. And this is a mess, but this is going to be the stone fruit area because of the north side. It's a lot cooler, so we're gonna do a project down here at some point. But yeah, let's come back around. You can see all the water drains out, comes through, past the cilantro. There's our nice bougainvillea. Kind of went dormant this year. And yeah, that's gonna be it. So the sun's kind of peeking out a little bit. Really gives a nice color here. And thanks for watching if you're still watching. And look at that. That's the aphid infestation. They're really bad this year. But we don't care. There's a lot of flowers. So good to go. Have a happy spring, everyone.